Hello Legacy Sabers, Marsh here. So today we're going to graph parabolas in Vertex and Intercept form today. You're going to want your notebook and then those two papers I gave you in class today for taking notes on. You're going to want those two as well. So, learning objectives. I can graph a quadratic function when it's in Vertex form and then when it's in Intercept form as well. So we've graphed in standard form. When you used your vertex, you found negative b over 2a. Well, there's two other forms. Vertex form. Now, remember, guys, when we did our shifting of our lines and also the absolute value, we had the up to, left to, down to, all that kind of thing. Well, that counts for vertex form of our parabolas. So outside parentheses, that's up to, down to, and then I have my right, my left, and then a flip also. That is the same for vertex form. So let's talk about our properties of vertex form. The H represents your horizontal shift, so how far left or right when the graph has been shifted from x equals 0. So notice, guys, this is opposite of what it is. So if it's x plus 3, that meant you went left 3. If it's x minus 3, that means you went right 3. The K represents your vertical shift of how much you went up or down. Your vertex is going to be HK. Okay? So go ahead and grab that paper out for me. The one that says vertex form in the corner. You should find vertex form. Okay? So the equation we're going to do is f of x equals 1/2 times the quantity x minus 3 squared minus 5. So I'm going to first find my vertex. My vertex, guys, if I look here, this means I went right 3 and down 5, right? So if I follow from 0, 0, right 3, 1, 2, 3, down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right here is where my vertex is. So that ordered pair, if I write that in my vertex box, is 3, negative 5. Right? Now let's fill in our table. Now since it's our vertex, we are going to need to put it in the middle. And then let's put a couple of numbers around that 3. So 2, 1, 4, and 5. So if I plug in a 1, I'm going to get 1 minus 3, which is negative 2. And then I'm going to square that. That's 4 times 1/2. That's 2 minus 5. That's negative 3. So let's plug in a 2. So 2 minus 3, that's negative 1. Negative 1 squared is 1 times 1/2 is 1/2. Minus 5, that's negative 4.5, right? Now, I do know this is a parabola, so I do know that this is going to mirror like that. So now let's graph the rest of my points. So I got 1, negative 3, negative 2, negative 4.5, so right about there. And then I'm just going to take my mirror. There we go. Let's go ahead and connect my dots. Oof. Marsh can't connect dots today. There we go. So now concavity, remember, is that means up or down. So since my U looks like a cup, it's got to be up. Axis of symmetry, remember, that's where you can fold him perfectly in half. So if I draw down the middle, right here, it's x equals 3 for my vertex. That would be the line that I just drew. And behavior. So as x approaches negative infinity, what is y going to do? So as I look on negative infinity, which means this way, it looks like y is going up, right? Forever. So y's got to approach infinity. Then let's check the other option. As x approaches infinity, y is approaching. So as x approaches infinity, this way, y is approaching positive infinity as well, right? Because it's going up that side as well. All right, let me make a note of which one we're solving. So it's 1/2 x minus 3 squared plus 5, if I remember right. Let me check. Oh, minus 5, not plus 5. Alright, let's find the y-intercept. Remember guys, y-intercept is easy to find. All you gotta do is plug in a 0 for your x. So I got 0 minus 3 squared minus 5. So it looks like I'm going to get 1/2 negative 3 squared minus 5. So 1/2 times 9 minus 5, or 9/2 minus 5. 9/2, guys, is the same as 4.5, right? Think of it that way. So I'm going to get a negative 1/2 for my y. So that would be 0, negative 1/2 for my y-intercept. Now my x-intercepts, guys, you're probably saying, well, it's kind of gross. I can't factor that. No, you can't. But you can solve by taking a square root, something we learned last chapter. So I got 0 equals 1/2 x minus 3 squared minus 5. So very first thing, let's add the 5 to both sides. We have 5 equals 1/2 x minus 3 squared. I need to get rid of that 1/2, so let's multiply both sides by 2. So I get 10 equals x minus 3 squared. Whoops, I went off to the side again. Square root both sides. So I get the plus or minus the square root of 10 equals x minus 3. Need to add 3. So x equals 3 plus or minus the square root of 10. That is my two x-intercepts. Now, I am going to ask you guys, please write them as ordered pairs to see both versions. So I do have 3 plus the square root of 10, comma 0, and 3 minus the square root of 10, comma 0. So notice, guys, there's 2 pieces to that right there, because there's the 2 of them, 2 x-intercepts, because I have a squared. So you do have 2 different ones. Now you're probably saying, that's not a number. Yes, it is. It is a decimal. It is kind of a funky decimal, but nevertheless, not all x-intercepts all the time will come out nice. Something to keep in mind. Our domain looks like I'm getting negative infinity to infinity. No issues with that. My range, I am starting at negative 5, going to infinity. And what about decreasing and increasing? Well, if I draw my car here, he is going down the hill until he hits right here, which is an x value of 3. So I do know I'm decreasing from negative infinity to 3. And then it looks like I was increasing from 3 to infinity. Like that. Now, you're probably saying, hey Marsh, I kind of like this vertex form. I don't have to find negative b over 2a. It's kind of nice. So what you can do, you can change from standard form to vertex form quite easily if you remember how to complete the square. So, remember guys, completing the square. This y, though, is going to stay there. Don't worry about him. He's just going to kind of hang around. So very first thing, we're going to kick c to the other side. So we're going to get y plus 2 equals x squared minus 2x. And then we're going to make room for blank. So y plus 2 plus blank equals x squared minus 2x plus blank. Now, to find blank, remember we took that negative 2, we divided it by 2, and then we squared. So that will be 1. Okay, so we got y plus 3 equals, now this is factorable. It factors down into x minus 1 and x minus 1. So we are at x minus 1 squared, right? Because if I can write it twice, that means the squared. Now, notice, guys, you're very close to what looks like a vertex form. I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. So I will get y equals, so y is alone again, x minus 1 squared minus 3. I am now in vertex form from standard form, and I now know that my vertex is at 1, negative 3 for this particular equation, which you could have found using negative b over 2a for standard form. However, if you feel that vertex form is easier for you, by all means, try to complete the square. Now, let's talk about the last form of parabolas. It's called intercept form. What's nice about this is those x-intercepts have been kind of gross for us to find. They're now going to give them to us perfectly. So the x value of the vertex is halfway between your intercepts, so the average of the intercept values. Your x-intercepts are p, 0 and q, 0. So basically, guys, pull out that intercept form paper. Notice it kind of looks like when you would factor an equation, right? That's what it looks like. These are your x-intercepts. Now, since you have it factored, you can see your x-intercepts that we've been finding. So I have an x-intercept at -3, 0 and 1, 0. So I'm going to put those dots on the line here. -3, 0, 1, 0. Now, here's the thing. The vertex has to be directly in the middle of those two numbers. So -3, 1. So if I can find my middle point, so if I move over, so it looks like my x value of my vertex is going to be at -1, right? Because that would be the middle of those two. But now I don't know the y value because I can't put it here, then it doesn't make a parabola. But I can plug in -1 into my equation to get it. So I'm going to get -1 plus 3, -1 minus 1, right? So I got 2 times -2, which is -4. So I do know now that my vertex is at -1, -4. Put my dot. Now I can make a parabola like that. And it looks like, guys, we're going to have a minimum on this parabola since it comes down all the way to the bottom. My axis of symmetry is right here where I can fold along the line. So that would be x equals -1. And then let's answer our concavity here. So notice, guys, it is a cup. So we are going up with our concavity. End behavior, notice we got to write our little statements here. So as x approaches -infinity, so as x goes to -infinity, notice, guys, it's going to go to positive on the y. So we're going to say y goes to positive infinity. Same thing as x goes to infinity, so on this side, notice it's also going to positive infinity for the y. So y goes to positive infinity. Let's answer the rest. So y-intercept, let me pull up what we had for an equation again. So we had x plus 3, x minus 1. So I get 0 plus 3, 0 minus 1. So I got 3 times -1, which is -3. So it looks like I have 0, -3 for a y-intercept. So that's where I would cross on the y-axis. My x-intercept, that's the easiest part about the intercept form. You already have them because it's already factored. Awesome. So I know x can equal -3 or x can equal 1. So aka x minus 3, or nope. Marsh doesn't know what she's writing. There we go. Let's erase that. So I got so excited I had my x-intercepts that fast. So I have -3, 0 and 1, 0 for my intercepts. Domain, it looks like it's going from -infinity to infinity. My range, it looks like we're starting at -4 and going to positive infinity. Intervals of increasing. So where are we increasing? Where are we decreasing? Increasing, it looks like I'm increasing from -1 to positive infinity. And then I believe we're decreasing from -infinity to -1. Now, let's say you're saying, hey Marsh, I like intercept form. It's a lot easier. You can graph in intercept form from standard. All you gotta do is factor the equation. So, let's say, guys, I am Gonna factor this. Well, I noticed something. These numbers all have a 3 in them. So I'm gonna factor that out first. So I will have 3 times the quantity, x squared plus 2x minus 24. 24 times 3. Now let's factor the inside. So a times, which is 1, times negative 24 is negative 24. Divide that, so numbers that multiply to negative 24 but add to 2. I believe that would be 6 and negative 4. Yeah. So since my a is 1, I can just go shorthand, x plus 6, x minus 4. Notice, guys, we have factored. This would be equivalent to that form. So if you can factor a standard form equation, you can use intercept form rather than standard form. That is allowed. However, now, not every single thing will factor nice. So sometimes intercept form is unable to be found as easily due to the fact it's unfactorable. So keep in mind, sometimes this one will not work. And that's the end of this video. See you later, Savers.